suppose from a political party point of view and politicians' point of view, we're sold on volunteers to start with because we rely on volunteers to get ourselves elected, and our political party are volunteers. There's also the work we do in our constituencies, that every single day you're in your constituency, whatever constituency work you're undertaking, you'll be engaging with the voluntary sector, with a charity, with a social enterprise in some way, such as the reach into communities now. And I think that reach is becoming increasingly important in society, and it's being recognised as such. If anyone was in any doubt before the recession of the value and importance of the third sector to communities, to tackling some of the most difficult problems in communities, I think those concerns they have must have gone by now, because the third sector during these difficult times I think has really come through and shown what it can do in a number of different ways. And one of those ways is often reaching some of the most vulnerable people, some of the most complex problems that the government can find more difficult to reach. Now, having said that, I think there's a caution on all of this. One, we should never use volunteers to replace paid staff. This is an extra additionality offering something different. And it's not trying to replace government responsibility of removing the state and putting the third sector in charge. I think it's about partnership and a different kind of relationship, and that's where we're moving towards. And I think where the direction of travel is that very important partnership to deliver the social objectives that we all believe in. I also think that we have to look at why we support volunteering. What are the benefits of volunteering? Now, I think they're numerous and can be identified, both as benefits for the individual and to the organisations. I think that presents challenges for the sector as well. I think if you see examples, I'm not as critical of V as Nick is, because I think you can see some very real value in how they've worked with organisations, increase the capacity, number of volunteers, and the volunteering opportunities. But I'll just give two examples where I think, by using people I know, how volunteering has made a real impact on the lives of those individuals. And every single one of you, I think, will know a similar story. Andrew, who has been volunteering in my office, and he comes in on a Friday, comes out when I'm doing events, does some things in the office. And we're driving back from an event, and he said to me, "A year ago you wouldn't have recognised me, I would have even spoken to you, I've never come to your office." So what happened? He said, "Well, I've got mental health problems." And I went to V, and they found a volunteering place for me to be a volunteer. So it's really increased my confidence, and so I can do this now. And so he comes on a Friday, and last week I was so proud of him because he told me he'd been to his school, the school that he went to until just a couple of years ago, and he's spoken to the kids in the school about what's it like to be a young person with mental health issues. Now, from that young man to go from somebody that he wouldn't even have spoken to me, that journey he's made, the difference that's made to his life, he's almost ready for employment, he's moving on, he's getting skills and experience, and he isn't alone in that. We've also had Richard in the office. Richard was a 25-year-old, confident, in a professional job, wanted to change direction, wanted to change what he did, and so he volunteered in the office, volunteered for other organisations as well. He's now gone into a job and he's chosen a profession because he's used the experience of being a volunteer to change his skills, to gain skills. And there are others who use that route of volunteering to get employment skills or improve their own employability to move on to employment. Now, both of those are huge contributions to society that volunteering can make, but that needs to be supported, volunteering. And also just think the value to organisations. For organisations, particularly in the third sector, sometimes struggling, as you know, the recession has put additional pressures on the services you deliver, whilst at the same time seeing financial pressures. But the value to your calls, to your campaigns, to your service can really be enhanced by using and supporting volunteers. And I think Julia Clevenger did a really good report on building stronger communities, where she looked at, I think, 4 or 6 different areas and said, where these areas particularly suffering through the recession, how can we bring the corporate sector together with the third sector to see how we can do better in bringing communities together and strengthening that community? And there's, many of you will know that report, but there's some great examples in there, I think, that gives lessons of how we can support volunteering. One of those is companies who have people who perhaps they're not using to capacity, don't want to lose them, don't want to let them go, want to keep them on board. Are there things they can be doing in the community that can serve that community, can help organisations, but keep the skills and talents and deploy those? And one thing we haven't touched on is the capacity of the sector itself to provide those really good volunteering opportunities we want. And I know some organisations have found that a challenge when they've seen extra volunteers coming in to find support and wanting to do something to help. Do we always get it right for them? One of the things I'm trying to do is bring the corporate sector and the third sector together. I'm organising a round table on this. And it came out from the corporate saying to me, I've got some really talented people who want to volunteer, but they've gone along to an organisation, they've been told, oh, we need someone to help paint these walls and paint this. We don't, that's great in some cases, but in other cases we want to use professionalism, the skills and experience of people where they're best suited. So I think we've got to work with you to make sure we meet that challenge. The government has seen a very strong government role in supporting volunteering. I think one thing to say is the infrastructure, our strategic partners like Volunteer in England, like NCVO, who have to do that work I'm talking about, matching volunteers, working with volunteers, the capacity for the sector. There's also work like V, getting young people 16 to 24 to volunteer, creating those additional opportunities and quality opportunities for people like Andrew. I think the Generations Together programme, that intergenerational support. I went to a project up in Manchester a couple of weeks ago, and it was great seeing people from different backgrounds, different communities, different ages, all involved in the same project, working together, where perhaps in that community they wouldn't have even spoken to each other or come across each other or worked together in the past. Volunteer managers, we need to have that support to train and help people who are placing volunteers. It's not always easy to do, and it can be a huge pressure on an organisation that wants to place volunteers, that support. And I think also things like the DWP brokerage programme and working with Volunteer in England to ensure that we help people get back into work, and volunteering is a route to that. So those are some of the things that we can be involved in, and some thoughts on that. Just a couple of things I've flagged up, I think, what the challenges of the future. One I've mentioned about making sure we provide the right kind of volunteering opportunities when we help work with the sector, for the capacity of the sector. Tom Levitt, I think I saw at the back here, is the chair of the all-party group. When I first came into Parliament in 1997, we joined together to current day. And Tom initiated a debate in the House of Commons on charity trustees. And that is a really crucial way of volunteering, using some of the professional skills we've been talking about, because so many charities have found it difficult to get enough trustees, or as many trustees as they want. And that's another way of bringing in people to help and support the sector. Nick mentioned about civil servants. Civil servants do now, I'm encouraged to volunteer. It's really great when they did a donate don't dump day, brought a charity shop into the Cabinet Office. Mary Porter's queen of charity shops now turned up to see what was on sale. And that kind of volunteering, we're going to try and encourage other departments to do exactly the same kind of thing, but also for staff to go out and work with organisations, work with charities, voluntary sector organisations of different kinds, because that experience brings a lot into government. I think we want to increase the number and level of volunteers. So I think we recognise that volunteering itself adds to community spirit, it engages communities, gives that sense of well-being. I don't believe in broken Britain. I think the number of people who are volunteering, engaging society now, broken Britain doesn't exist, but we can do more to support that, I don't know, the cohesion in communities and bring more people in. So increase the number, and that understanding between the sectors of the third sector, government, and the corporate sectors. I suppose at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is spread the good practice. We know that there are really good examples of where it's working so well, volunteers really making a contribution to the community with the sector, and we think we can build on that good practice. I've always thought somebody who's worked in the sector has worked in politics and worked in local government. The one thing I want to be able to do, when I decide to hang up the shoes that are going to fall off this block in a moment, when it's time to go, is to say, look back and look at something and say, I made a difference there. I achieved something. And I think the sector and the ability to increase the number of volunteers gives every one of those volunteers to say, I made a difference. And that, I think, is the biggest thing that it can contribute to society cohesion. Thank you.